that let's go for this. I know half the audience here. This is a small group. Let's just jump right in.
We'll jump right in. Let me do a quick introduction because this is going to go onto our YouTube and it's also on Facebook Live right now. So hi everybody, and everybody that's on Facebook and sees on YouTube. I'm Simran. I'm with Canopy. Canopy is a co-working space based in San Francisco, and today we've got Ben Davis, the CEO and founder of San Francisco's nonprofit Illuminate. You've probably seen his amazing work, Bay Lights, the light installation that's across the Bay Bridge, and also the Summer of Love lighting on the Conservatory of Flowers, along with many, many other projects which he will touch on during this conversation. He's going to be discussing his upcoming project, Illuminate the Pink Triangle, and it's going to be the 25th year that it's been going on, and it's his first year with Illuminate, and they're doing it for the 50th anniversary for Pride. All right, Ben, all you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, I don't know if there's a Facebook group out there, but I'm just going to be candid and transparent. Hi, John Combs, who's on the Illuminate board and is an amazing supporter of our organization and this project, Illuminate the Pink Triangle. And Lindsay, looks like you're there in a beautiful background. So hi, how are you? If there's Facebook people there, maybe, but let's just be candid. Not a big group here, so we're just going to sort of sail through. I'm going to give the big picture and maybe run this pretty fast. So Illuminate is a San Francisco-based nonprofit arts organization. Our mission is we rally large groups of people together to create impossible works of public art that through awe free humanity's better nature. Our flagship calling card project is the Bay Lights, working with artist Leo Villarreal. That went live originally in 2013, was up for a couple of years, and then came back as a permanent installation and a gift to the people of California, where it now shines nightly on the side of the Bay Bridge. Other projects you may or may not be aware of, but the photosynthesis, the illumination of the Conservatory of Flowers, a really beautiful and generous work in Golden Gate Park that has sort of changed usage patterns in Golden Gate Park and also changed the prospects of this facility, assuming people can start to gather and go there again. Before COVID hit, since we illuminated, their membership was up some 400%, no, 700%. Visitations were up, and it's just really the power of light to do what it says so well, which is to attract and enlighten. Other pieces we've worked on, the Harvey's Halo, in the Castro, this beautiful piece of neon, Hope Will Never Be Silent. While few people have experienced it, I encourage everyone to find a way. The Grace Light installation at Grace Cathedral is absolutely deep and stunning, and has people sobbing beneath this beautiful light, which we found a way for you to sort of lie beneath and have a completely cosmic, transcendent, arriving at the gates of heaven type of experience. We have some upcoming projects that are exciting too. We will very soon be bringing on the revived Spreckles Temple of Music, in Golden Gate Park. That's the old band shell between the Cal Academy of Science and the Young Museum. Really beautiful new stage. You can see the observation wheel off in the background. It'll have a world-class sort of theatrical lighting and sound system, so that the music concourse, a place in which you almost never hear music, really becomes San Francisco's open-air music parlor, a place you can almost always go, and we can start that healing process of listening to live performance again, probably more comfortable outside in the park rather than filling up the Fillmore, rocking out at the Warfield. But of all these projects, we're very excited about the project to illuminate the Pink Triangle. This is a project that from conception to execution will take less than 3 months. That is a blink in the civic sphere of public art making at this scale, and a testament to a great group of people coming together, and also Illuminate's commitment to stay in San Francisco and work exclusively here, turning down opportunities to work around the world. We've made a sort of a spiritual commitment to just stay put and work consistently to create a beautiful work of art one upon the other, and help transform San Francisco into a city of awe, a place where you can just come experience an amazing set of beautiful, distinct installations that help change the energy of the city, sort of help reset the psyche towards generosity, empathy, love, and inclusion. Um, Part of my new COVID routine is to sit here at my desk, but also to bike up in the afternoons, as I will later today. And the gates are now closed on Twin Peaks, so I've been looping back and forth. And back in the early part of April, I began to get curious about what was going to happen with Patrick's installation of this acre of canvas that he puts up every single year for Pride. Patrick and I have a friendship. He's a really great guy. And so I ended up reaching out to him. And sure enough, it was unclear if he was going to be able to make the triangle happen this year. This was before Pride had canceled their parade. And again, to his credit, he was open to the idea that this year we might consider illuminating it, creating this beautiful acre of light up on the hillside that becomes this symbol of hope, love, resiliency, and inclusion high in the hill. And when the rest of the city is calmed, to have this place we can all tune into and sort of pride in place. Because from that acre, or from Twin Peaks, you can actually see hundreds of thousands of homes, all of them looking right at the Twin Peaks. It's amazing. And across the bay, another several 100,000 more, for which this symbol, especially when it's made of light, will be visible. So it's an incredible effort, and also an effort that requires a lot of humility and a sense of responsibility, because the symbol itself is an extremely potent shape and symbol with very, very brutal origins. It was the ruthless snip of fabric that the Nazis put onto the clothing of homosexuals, the uniforms, as they pushed them into the prisons and the cattle cars for the death camps of Nazi Germany, where they were singled out again for a particularly even more grotesque form of torture because of who they were. So it has this really awful beginning. 30 years later, when the HIV/AIDS crisis started to really impact San Francisco in particular, parts of New York, that symbol was pulled out with the saying that silence equals death. This time, people were not going to go quietly. There was no federal response to the HIV/AIDS crisis. Reagan couldn't even say the word AIDS for 5 years. And so this community rallied, they made noise. They also figured out how, through that pandemic of the 1980s, to take care of each other with great care and compassion. So there's lessons to be shared from that group as we carry this symbol forward to this next wave. Once it went through that process of rage with the Queer and the ACT UP groups, it actually was this beautiful moment of reappropriation that groups sometimes do. That which marked us for death or shame, we now claim as a matter of pride. So it's a symbol that's undergoing an amazing ascendancy from fear and death and isolation and shame to love and inclusion and hope and resiliency. And in this moment, as 2020 keeps shifting shape in sort of strange but meaningful ways that cracks us open, and we look at Black Lives Matter, and we look at the outrage that comes inside all of us with systemic injustice, this symbol is very interesting because it was easy to identify that form of systemic injustice when we could point to the Nazis who were pushing under uniforms and pushing people into death camps. But it's a little more difficult here when we look at what it means to be in America, to be white in America, to know that you're complicit without it being as explicit as Nazi Germany, and yet to own the fact that there's a systemic injustice occurring. And that part of our responsibility is to be mindful of that and further help this symbol move up that chain from fear and shame to love and pride and equality. So it's a great opportunity to work on the project in a meaningful way and to do what Illuminate was determined to do. John knows from being on our board that we didn't want to wait it out. We didn't want to, sort of hunker down and do nothing and wait to see what was happening. We wanted to fulfill the purpose of our organization, which is to bring light to the world and to do it when light has its highest purpose, which is in a time of darkness. So we were very fortunate to, in a sense, be visited by this project and have enough relationships in San Francisco with Patrick Carney and others that we could figure out how to manifest it on a dime. We have a crowdfunding campaign that's up now. We're about halfway through our goal. We have an amazing generous and beautiful 5K match. That means anybody who's donating to the project right now can have that gift matched, and it's super helpful for us. You know, I think on this project like this, we're going to get there. It may be a little tight, but we're not going to let that stop us no matter what. We're moving forward, and on June 27th, in just 18 nights, on the opening weekend of Pride, we'll have what we're calling our global grand lighting. This moment where not just San Francisco can tune in, but you know, those of us in San Francisco sometimes take it for granted. We get a little tired of the city. We know its imperfections, which are many. But the truth is, when it comes to this matter of pride, San Francisco is a leader and means a lot to the world. We take it for granted, but if you're the kid in Iran or Egypt or many parts of the world, you can be killed for trying to be who you are. And so San Francisco is a beacon of hope and inclusion. And we're delighted to create this positive moment of uplift in the middle of the city. We've been joined on this effort, not just by Illuminate with our body of work and commitment to San Francisco and Pride on its 50th anniversary, and Patrick's Pink Triangle on the 25th anniversary or 25th year of its manifestation. But also our executive producer for our global grand lighting is one of our board members, Patricia Wilson. She's the CEO of Make-A-Wish, or was the CEO, former CEO of Make-A-Wish, and was the driving force behind the Bat Kid phenomenon, which is really interesting coming together. I'm not sure if folks remember Bat Kid, but it was this moment when the city fell into a spell and the whole world joined us. And this young boy with some, pretty terrific or horrendous health problems got a chance to fulfill his wish to actually be Batman and solve crimes with the chief of police and be given the key to the city by the mayor and have messages beamed down from the International Space Station. So we're very excited to have Patricia Wilson join this project with all of her brilliance. And some of what that means is that we'll be having a pink torch ceremony. We're having a beautiful pink torch actually made right now. I should have more images to share with you, but a group called Looking Up Art here, who typically make gigantic works of art, often out in the Playa of Burning Man, are lavishing their attention on about a 2.5-foot torch with a cast aluminum base, beautiful design, and a pink LED vibrant torch on the top that will make its transition very likely from Sacramento, maybe the mayor's office, or the governor's office, excuse me, because when the governor was mayor of this town, of course, he put his political career on the line and made some very interesting and positive choices around equality in marriage and so forth, and has certainly earned the right to represent this the state and the city. And then the torch will make its way to San Francisco, hopefully through some of the communities of the East Bay, and an act of radical inclusion. And then the San Francisco LGBT community of the police department will be giving us a motorcade escort as we walk this torch symbolically with a procession of torch passing up Market Street to the top of Twin Peaks for our moment of our global grand lighting on June 27th. At which point the triangle will come on. It will be 2,700 LED lights, each individually addressable, set up on a sort of an array. So there's a 43 strings of light that come down, creating that big pink triangle that will be visible across the city. Illuminate's working with a team of folks, but we'll have a very energetic and yet subdued set of images that manifest on, not images, excuse me, light patterns and things that manifest on that symbol. The whole purpose, though, is not to treat this as a screen. It's to always be in service to the symbol, the power of that shape, that three-sided, generally pink triangle that's going to be on the hillside. That'll be with us every night from June 27th until July 10th. July 10th is the end of the International AIDS Conference that was going to be happening in San Francisco, the 23rd International AIDS Conference. That conference, like so many things, has gone virtual, but we will stay up through the end of that. It's my personal fantasy, and things are moving quickly, and we're not able to sort of get it planned yet. But I would like to see. We're working with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which is a bucket list fantasy of me to work with such an amazing group of people. They used to have a pink party that I think got out of hand at some point, probably because others joined in and created a little chaos and it got canceled. But I like the idea that on June 27th, when we go live, it's sort of a global event for the world. And on the 10th of July, when we go dark that night, we'll have a party for ourselves, hopefully our own pink party, and can sort of celebrate that this piece was up and is up. Illuminate is an organization that really does well and believes in the culture of generosity rather than the economy of reciprocity. We tend to gift everything we make away. People help us make it. We attract the generosity and we push that generosity forward. A great example is the Bay Lights, which are now property of the people of California. You own it, and we all do. The Conservatory of Flowers we gifted to the conservatory, where it now shines nightly. The installation at Grace Cathedral, we've gifted to Grace Cathedral. The neon in the Castro is a permanent part of the infrastructure. And these lights that we're procuring, we're having manufactured, they just arrived in the US, will be gifted completely to Patrick Carney and the Pink Triangle Project for his use, if he chooses to use them, with no strings attached in future years. So that next year, when Pride Month starts, like we're in now, but you might never know it, it might be possible that the triangle would illuminate on June 1st and stay up for the entire month of June to create this bigger, longer, more vibrant symbol and reminder up on the hillside in San Francisco. This is another project in which, because we have generous supporters at Illuminate called our Illuminaries, who help us cover our operating costs or do a really good job of getting us close, that we don't have to take any money from these projects. So we won't take a penny for this project. All the money will go directly from the crowdfunding site into SF Pride and then back over to Patrick with the Pink Triangle Project. It was important for Illuminate that we not have to pursue projects that have the ability to sort of bring economic remuneration into the organization, because then you end up taking the wrong projects. We wanted to have the opportunity to take on projects that we felt were needed or beneficial or had deep soul and connection to the city of San Francisco and help us unearth that the beauty of the city and the power of the city and the complexities of the city. I'm going to quickly go through our mission statement and then our guiding principles, which are fast, but you'll see, and John, who's on our board, hears these and knows how much we try and come back to these again and again. But Illuminate rallies large groups of people together to create impossible works of public art that through awe free humanity's better nature. That's our mission statement, and our guiding principles are: be beauty bound, commit to manifesting beautiful expressions from surface to core, be free to all, create nothing that requires paid admission, live or die with integrity, never compromise for corporate dollars, even if that means failing, take worthy risks, try difficult things, and be transparent in sharing all lessons, inspire generous collaboration, select only projects that require disparate groups to work together, always aim high, seek to unite all people around the higher values of love and equality, champion civility, be stewards of a family-friendly and inclusive public sphere, bring light to shadow, pursue positive expressions that address real-world shortcomings, be in it for others, self-sacrifice towards the greater good, and finally take the long view, be willing to pursue larger visions that unfold over years. So it's a very interesting challenge to take on. How do you meaningfully bring transformation at a higher sort of psychic level in a city through the power of generously produced and created and manifested public art that typically every step of the way is a process of requiring a deconstruction of a system that's designed to say no, and the reconstruction of a permission process that lets people say yes to things that make sense. And doing that, all of that real time and pursuing these projects exclusively in San Francisco, it is very interesting. And I will say this, that I have never felt more motivated, and that we have projects, not just Spreckles Temple of Music. And I think that music has the power to touch in us the places that data can't, and that science and art quite can't. And the idea that we have this place in Golden Gate Park that we can gather together and begin the healing process, the memorializing process, the power of starting to gather again safely, means that project has the power to be like Lotta's Fountain of the 1906 earthquake, this place of psychic and social and civic healing. But we have about 3 other projects that are already manifesting and starting to move forward, that are of a grand scale, that are responding to sort of what I would call the times that we're in. And it's extremely exciting and exhilarating. And also the Pink Triangle project has been a great test of creativity. To do a project from start to finish in less than 3 months, at a time when none of us can gather in person, in a time that requires, scores of people to work together, manufacturing processes in other countries, technological teams, different folks coming together, social media teams, fundraising teams, people working on permissions within the city, on the people making a torch, people making beautiful objects of sort of art and jewelry. I'm not sure if that'll show up, but we have this beautiful illuminated triangle that we give away as a gift to people. Very, very cool little object. So we just have, on the beauty of this project and the pureness of its energy, a great expression for the city of San Francisco, and a great opportunity for people to come together and make a difference in our city in a powerful way. There's not many of us on this call, I don't think, unless there's some gigantic Facebook Live audience, which I slightly doubt. But Sabrina and Lindsay, hi. Say to you guys are muted. If you guys have any questions or want to move into more of a dialogue, that's great. Also, John, I'm not sure if you want to weigh in and just say hi real quick. Always good to hear your Southern drawl.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thanks for your presentation.
That's
Super
great.
Excited about this.
No, fantastic.
So Ben, if you can hear me, I'm curious about how much energy is required. You mentioned these are LED bulbs. And then I'm also kind of curious logistically, like what happens to them after July? Like what do you physically do with them, just in terms of like sustainability, energy in, and what happens to the materials after the project ends?
So there's on the energy side of things, LEDs are very efficient in general. Yeah. But it's tricky because, we're up in a space there, what they call, oddly, Christmas Tree Point on the top of Twin Peaks. And what I don't want to have is a generator, because I want these to run for a long time. I don't want to make a lot of noise. I don't want to burn the fuels. So we're trying to work with the city with 18 days to go. You can see those couple of radio antennas behind my head. There's a transmission tower there that seems to be city-owned. So we're trying to sip some energy out of that facility to feed across so it can be nice and quiet and clean for the time that we're up. It's 820 volt something or other circuits. I'm not really very technical, but it's not a whole lot of energy. So you look like an electrical engineer. You know what's going on. You must know.
Yeah, I don't. I'm just curious.
Not much energy. And then what will happen with the LEDs is they're custom engineered and manufactured to fit this space. The power will run down the center and they'll come down these lines. We'll carefully bundle those up and they'll go into storage for Patrick's use in future years. If it turns out, that maybe it won't be as beautiful as we hope or amazing as we hope, or the level of effort is in conflict with what Patrick wants to do in future years, we'll either find another use for them, if that's what he wants us to do. But we're giving them with no strings attached to Patrick and with the commitment that we'll support him in future years. Just since we're a small group, I'll share another fantasy that Patrick and I and others are now working on. You can see that beautiful pink triangle on the hillside that's made of canvas behind me. We think it would be amazing to, instead of taking Patrick's 300 volunteers over 3 days and have them swarm and put that canvas down, to disperse that a little more over time and actually plant that with native California plants that bloom pink this time of year, so that there would be this sort of more natural, beautiful, constant expression that could join us on the hillside that you could almost always tune into. It might be in different phases of its color range, but sort of like the wide-armed, Jesus on top of Rio, that there's this beautiful alignment constantly bringing its energy down Market Street, because this has this almost acupuncture-like alignment when the pink triangle's there as it goes right down Market Street to the ferry building. So we love the idea that we wouldn't just stop here, that we would continue to evolve Patrick's Triangle on is 25th year. And we actually are having conversations with landscape architects and Audubon and everyone else we can think about to talk about that project.
Are you familiar with, hi, I'm Sabrina. Are you familiar with Sensorio field of light in Paso Robles?
Yeah, I didn't get there, but I saw that expression. It seemed really beautiful.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, and it's just to bounce back on Lindsay's question, what you're going to do with the lights, with the LEDs after, or I think they've installed like 58,000. It's fiber optics, so if you need to reach out to them, like for advice or like for power or how they did it, it's just,
yeah. No, that project's been our consciousness a lot. I think it's come down finally. The trick with that one is that was a paid a ticketed expression.
Yes, yeah, totally.
And we're just committed to a whole different path. It causes challenges. The Grace Light installation is a great example. We were really determined not to charge any admission, and actually the Cathedral really, because it became one of these things where spaces were few and the desire was deep. And every time we would release tickets, there would be 5,000 people with their finger over the button trying to be one who got into the thing. But we found a way through generosity to keep that experience pure and open, and more of a less an event or performance and more of a service or an offering that really sort of opens up the psyche of what's going on. So I think it would be interesting to think about those folks, but it's part of the challenges of Sensoria type of idea, but part of the challenge is how do we make it, how do we keep it an experience that doesn't require, that's open and accessible to everybody. But one of the things we're really grateful for is great relationships with the city agencies here. And one of those includes Rec and Park, under the leadership of Phil Ginsburg, who's now in his 10th year. And if you've been in San Francisco for a while, you've noticed the park's getting better and better under his great leadership. And this project, the Spreckles Temple, will be our second project. I think it'll be very successful. And I see the parks as a great canvas for expression, because they're already radically open. If we can find the right kind of expression that can live without a lot of supervision and so forth.
Ben, what is your background?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Sabrina. Sorry.
Oh, no, just go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask, what is your background and how did you come to lead this organization?
I grew up in a scruffy neighborhood in Boston, and was I went to Boston public schools my whole life. I lived in an area called the South End, not South Boston. South End was the melting pot neighborhood of Boston, the one melting pot neighborhood. So I grew up in a very diverse group of friends. And as we got into high school, Boston went into its desegregation of its schools, or forced busing. And the city erupted as the most racist, horrible place in the world, or in the country. And it was very jarring and scarring for me. And so I think a lot of the work that we're doing now is really a reaction to that, witnessing that sort of systemic injustice in a way that brings me rage. At age 17, I hitchhiked across country with my best friend at the time, Stafford Gregoire, who was sort of Obama complected, with an erudite African father and sort of a liberal mom. Great folks, great family. I lived in their house and vice versa. But it's, if you want to understand white privilege, hitchhike with the black dude. And we made our way across the country to San Francisco and discovered this world was bigger than the neighborhood. Eventually, I came out to California. I snuck into Cal Berkeley. I'm never a good student. Left and didn't really want to take a job at a desk. Just really, actually was a bike messenger and a waiter forever. Realized I couldn't do that for a long time. Saw a headline in the newspaper one day that said Boston Harbor project set to begin. And I thought, well, if I'm going to sit at a desk, the idea of cleaning up Boston Harbor seems impossible and outrageous, but that's what I would want to do. I finagled an internship. I left 8 years later as the manager of public information on a beautiful, powerful environmental cleanup project that that did something impossible, cleaned up all of Boston Harbor. And that gave me a taste for people working together on big projects. I came out to California. I ended up getting fired, and then starting my own design and communication firm called Words, Pictures, Ideas, that for 20 years took on, the big sweet spot was big mega projects. So we did things that are smaller, like the conversion of the ferry building from the old building to the place that it is now, to the SF Park technology, to the Transbay Transit Center when it was just an idea, to the Doyle Drive replacement or the Presidio Parkway project, Stanford Hospital rebuild, and also the Bay Bridge seismic safety projects. And that's what sort of tuned me into the idea of seeing the bridge as a canvas of light. And once we followed that mad path, and that manifested in the Bay Lights, I realized there was this even more powerful way to get people to see infrastructure the way I did, which I sort of see God in the infrastructure. I see this amazing symbolic gestures of people reaching across difficult divides to solve problems that we could never solve on our own. And the metaphorical beauty of the Bay Lights is this illuminated path across this harsh divide, and just getting people to see and have an emotional relationship with something that previously was just sort of a tertiary, annoying structure that you had to get across from time to time. So I've gone from job to career to calling. I never thought I'd be running a nonprofit arts organization. Never. And I'm ill-suited to do it, as John can tell you. But that's true of every single job and thing I've ever taken on my whole life, you know? And so I'm just trying to do my best to be of service in the moment, to the best of my ability, and to honor, at this point, the agency I've been given to try and make things happen. Because I can get the meeting, and I've been given a voice, in my better days can find the eloquence to try and take a complex idea and move it to the path of possibility for people. So it's a really mixed bag, mostly just drinking and thinking, to try and make things happen. That's a long-winded answer.
Thank you so much. It's you have a fascinating background and just a profound perspective on all of this. As one follow-up, I'm curious about, for this specific installation, I can just sense the deep level of motivation. I'm curious about, like, if you had to isolate it to maybe just one thing, like, what is the most meaningful to you about this project?
Well, I think let me just try and get it. I mean, first of all, it's so powerful that this three-sided, one-colored shape should possess so much potency and energy, and have that energy be such an arc of transformation. It could be a movie, you know, where the character is this symbol. It starts off from its most brutal, darkest part of human nature that lives inside all of us still. You know, the DNA is exactly the same in us as it was in the Nazis who were putting that symbol on people and shoving them to their death and their torture. But consciousness starts to creep in, and story starts to creep in, and the power of ascendancy to rise up and appeal and move into one's better nature, from fear, death, and hate to love and inclusion and hope and pride, you know, is really a powerful journey to witness and to play your small, respectful part of. And to know that that's going to happen when the city is going to be calm. I mean, like a lot of people, set aside the death, the suffering, the economic uncertainty, all the challenges that are happening in this moment. This is a beautiful moment to be alive. I have my relationship to the city is even more profound as I hear the bird chatter, as I witness the calm city. Is there sort of, there was and so I don't know, everything about this project I feel motivated. I love Patrick. He's an amazing character. You know, you get the chance to interact with these characters, and not just Patrick, but Greg Kaysen and Gary Virginia and other folks I'm in touch with, Marvin White at Glide Memorial. It's just putting me in touch with this amazing spectrum of San Franciscans who have lived through the deep history of the city, who've come through the HIV/AIDS crisis, and are survivors of that, and really feel a deep sense of passion and connection to what's moving forward. And I love that the project is now, you know, opening us up I hope in a genuinely authentic way to the times in which we're living in now, which is it's the same reaction. It's this frustration at recognizing the systemic injustice and the determination to be better, to free the better nature of each of us. That was not one thing. It's a lot of things. I can't separate it out. But the passion is genuine and deep, and it burns inside me in ways that sometimes scares me. That's the truth of it.
And I feel like this project is coming at the perfect time for everybody. It's like it's a symbol for hope for everything that's happening in the world right now.
Yeah, and I, you know, I've heard Patricia's great, and we're starting to get another team is starting to work on sort of the public relations and outreach. But we hear that Good Morning America is going to be tuning in, and you know what I really want to see is this at 9 o'clock on a Saturday. We'll all be asleep. We were a sleepy city before that, and COVID's put us to bed by 8 now. We just wait for the sun to set. But you know, it'll be there for us. And I think the next morning, I would like to see all the news cycles have sort of a reflection of San Francisco, the better part of San Francisco that we haven't had a chance to experience or see that much of late, reflected nationally.
And how has it been working with the city? I mean, you know, with the Bay Lights project, I can't even imagine how long it took to even get those permits up and running.
Bay Lights was big. It was, you know, 2.5 years. That was really fast.
Mm-hmm.
We're working with the city in really wild ways right now. We're just slipping in behind Patrick, hiding under his skirt as he goes through his classic permission process. The city is rightfully focused on a lot of other things right now, and barely paying attention to what we're doing. And we're just going to kind of get it done, get it up, move along. We'll probably hit a couple of bumps along the way, but hopefully at that point, the momentum is so strong and the understanding that it's important enough to San Francisco that we'll probably have to bend a few permissions along the way once people finally figure it out. Oh, this is what you meant. But it's okay. You know, our intentions are absolutely pure. There's not an iota of sort of corporate interest attached to this. There's no reason to do it other than for the love of community, love of the other, and to help our city shine during a dark time. So,
have you had any other cities reach out to you? You know, now that you've got, you know, quite a few large installations that the world knows about.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the artists in the Bay Lights, who I didn't know before the visitation of the Bay Bridge as a canvas of light came to me, and then found Leo, who was the perfect artist and who's amazing and who gets full credit for the beautiful manifestation of the project, Bay Lights. I mean, it's just amazing. He's now doing 15 bridges in the Thames in London, you know, and lots of other projects. We get calls all the time from different parts of the world, Singapore, Australia, part of the country, Chicago, you know, were you interested? We love your work. We say no every single time. We say no to the money. It's tough. Mm-hmm. We say no to the sort of the travel and the idea, to the, I don't know how to put it, the sexiness of an international repertoire. But it's a thought exercise and sort of a spiritual exercise to say, what happens if we just stay put and build community where we are? My hope, and I don't mean to say this in the wrong way, but I'm always inspired by Gaudi's work in Barcelona, where you can go and see the apartment building, the tile on the street, the individual residents, the Park Arguell, the Sagrada Familia, and just be blown away and know that that concentration of energy in that city helps define the city, but also inspires the world more broadly around it with the philosophy. Well, we have our guiding principles, we have our mission statement, they're very clear. The body of work itself is evolving. We're not even clear yet exactly what defines it, although there's a spark and a spirit and an energy to it. But I think over time, as you start to look at all the projects that we're working on, you know, over time, you start to see there's an energy to them that really, there's something about them that are very generous and loving, the sort of light that gives and tries to fill and lift people's spirit as much as we possibly can. But mostly it's just saying no to those other projects. You know, what matters as much, if not more, what you say yes to is what you say no to, I suppose, right?
Yeah, because you're saying yes, or you're doing the projects that, you know, are pulling at you, that you're drawn to.
And the other thing we're doing that's different is, you know, we just don't issue RFPs. We don't respond to RFPs. I can't quite understand why, other than I think that we're trying to escape the orbit of competitive environments. We're trying to move into the realm of inspiration. Let's just let it, first of all, constantly be tuned into the city. I've learned particularly over the past 10 years, how to start to envision the city as a canvas of possibilities. And so, and it's rich with possibility if you start to look at it that way. But how do you start to marry those possibilities with people and come up with singular striking visions that are so bold that they create this sense of desire and attraction around an idea, around a vision, rather than here's 8 visions for a competitive thing, now let's have a vote and a judging committee and all these other things that tend to have more losers than winners, and also just create a negative energy in some ways around the projects. So we're trying a different technique around public art making, I think, that no one else is really doing right now.
Can you tell us a little bit about the project that's behind the amphitheater project?
Yeah,
This
is great. This is, I think I have a little video that I'll let play in the background. This is the 120-year-old Spreckles Temple of Music in Golden Gate Park, on Golden Gate Park's 150th anniversary. Behind me, you'll see a beautiful new stage that we've put in, replacing the old stage. Those of you who've been to this part of the park know that it's the music concourse and the Spreckles Temple of Music, and you've probably never heard music there. You might have heard the Golden Gate Park Band on a Sunday for 90 minutes, kind of doing an Oompa John Philip Sousa set, but probably not likely. But this is an amazing, energetic place, and we've reimagined this to put in this beautiful stage that matches the architecture, working with Feldman Architecture Group and Junkston Construction and Light Switch and Myers Sound and Bug ID'd and a whole bunch of amazing world-class folks, so that you'll have this place that with an iPad and a little bit of technical understanding, you can go fire up the lights, fire up a complex sound system, and all you really need to do as a performer is show up. So it's a radically accessible way to extend the stage. A place like the Canopy, as you guys are there, you'll walk around and everybody's creating a platform for someone to do this and a platform for someone to do that online. We're making a platform made of wood, but we think it's a great, powerful way to extend the spirit of communication and activate this place of Golden Gate Park, which has such a great history with the Human Being in 1967 and the Grateful Dead doing their guerrilla concerts and all the other things that have happened in the park to create a substantive, energetic shift in the park. And we're very close on this project. It's about an $800,000 project. Now we're just about $75,000 left to raise to make this project a reality and have the stage ready to go as soon as we're ready to start gathering again in San Francisco. It's a great project. I'm super excited about it. People aren't really aware of it yet, other than our small community that's been helping to make it happen. But once it's a go, I think we can change the energy of the city one more time.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one because I live around the corner from that area, and I've been here for 20 years, and it's like, this is such a great space, but I never see anyone utilizing it, and it's amazing that you're doing this. This is, a question I'm going to ask you, how, and no one has the answer for it, I just want to hear what your take is. How do you think things are going to change? You put these installations up and you put these projects together to bring communities together, which is similar to what we do because we have a co-working space. How do you see this happening going forward? Once things die down, you think people are going to be excited to get out again, or are people going to be super, scared to get out, or, yeah, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, I can't even predict next week.
Yeah, no one knows what's going on, but
I'm totally exhilarated by the level of peaceful protest that's happening in this country, and freaked out by the level of peaceful protest and coming together that's happening in this country because of physical distancing and things like that. I just don't know. We will start to get together, and when we do, I'm confident that it's going to be in a place like the open air music parlor of San Francisco, where we feel safe and comfortable doing it and hearing live performance and poetry and spoken word and whatever else it's going to be, before we want to go into the Opera Hall, the Jazz Center, Independent, even a movie theater. So to create this opportunity for the city to have this space is really, I think, an important gift and gesture. And it's a legacy gift. It's designed to change the future usage of Golden Gate Park. You can see across the top, we're using that expression again, hope will never be silent, which is a quote from Harvey Milk, which, you know, it's interesting. I had a little bit of a run-in with historic preservation, who at some last minute didn't quite get why that was an important part of this project. I'm ready to go back to them now and say, okay, can you understand why these words matter more than ever on this building? I think it just gives an energetic bearing to anybody on the stage to know that those words are above. And really, I'll say this too. This feels like a different eons ago that we cared about this, but we'll care about this again. This was really meant to be a space of climate consciousness, to bring an awareness around climate into the middle of the park and let the performance and let these generations find a voice around climate issues. That's coming back again. I mean, let's keep, each one of these issues are interrelated, whether it's how do we deal with COVID collectively, which is really beautiful because it forces human collaboration as part of a solution. How do we deal with the issue of equity in a much, much better, you know, sort of systemic way in this country around Black lives and everything else that's embraced underneath that? And then how do we translate that into concern about the planet? And so there's some big shifts coming. And I'm hoping this will be a mecca for people coming together to experience and practice the voice and what does it mean to do that in the heart of Golden Gate Park.
Yeah. Well, thank you for, you got the Pink Triangle project, Illuminate the Pink Triangle, and we got this one. It's going to be so exciting, looking forward to all these coming together. The triangle's coming at the end of the month, 18 days, you said?
27th.
The 27th.
We'll actually start to see it test patterning on the hillside, probably on the 20th or something.
Everyone has something to look forward to. It's like, get outside and look up at the hill. Then we have this amphitheater project to look forward to once things open up again. Does anyone else have anything else they want to add?
Yes. No, I have a question. Do you have any rendering? Like we can use, I'm with an online magazine, a French online magazine, mercsf.com, and we'd like to talk about the project. Do you have any rendering that you could share with us, or do you have your PR?
The rendering I have here is something we can share behind me. We're all, I'm not sure if you want to do video. We're starting to work on the pattern expressions now that will be manifesting in support to the symbol. So we could, go ahead.
We can use, yeah.
Feel free to reach out to me, Sabrina, at ben@illuminate.org.
Okay.
And either myself or we have a PR team that can send you.
Okay.
But we'd be delighted to. That's it for our global grand lighting. We want to be in that French magazine. Perfect.
And so you said, I mean, we're local though. Huh? We're French, but local. And you said you're going to start testing around June 20th.
Probably. We're going to start the installation. It's stakes on the hillside, and then it's posts on the hillside, then it's getting our infrastructure in, and then getting our lights on, and then getting our power down. But I think we should, by around the 20th, start to be able to fire up the system. And again, be prepared for ugly. Test patterns, dot patterns to figure out, get everything fired up. And then we'll do some exploration of the content itself. Of what that would look like, and that probably may be a little ugly until we really dial it in over those several nights. But by the 27th, hopefully with a night or two of darkness, we'll be ready to unfurl for the world.
Okay, I'll live next door to Twin Peaks, so I'll come and check you out. Good.
Well, it's sometime in the next week. I may have a trash pickup if everybody wants to come out, because they've cut all the grass down, and you can see, 5 years of garbage on the hillside. I want to do an energetic purge. I love picking up trash anyway, and I think it's a great social thing to do. So if you feel like coming out in a safe physical distancing thing to do and help hillside clean, reach out. I'm not going to put too big of a call out because I don't want to have be chaos, but I'm looking forward to really getting that hillside clean energetically as we get those lights onto it. And it's beautiful to pick up trash. It's beautiful to see the transformation of a thing from.
That's a good way to see it. Yeah.
How can we get one of the pink triangle necklaces? That was super cool.
Well, crassly, you could donate to the project at a significant level. We really do want to stay out of that idea of reciprocity, so we're just gifting these. But we've had 100 of these made, which I'm giving to people in the team, and generally people are giving $250. I'm trying to find a way to give a triangle to them, and then we're actually having 5 silver editions of these made. This is a stainless steel for other folks too. It is.
As a side note, to go back to your comments on Gaudi in Barcelona, the houses in Barcelona, some of them do charge an entry fee, and they need them to maintain the buildings, and so sometimes it also works out to.
Yeah, I know. We'll see. You
sell some necklaces. They're beautiful.
We'll give them away. We'll stay in the culture of gifting, but there will be a little bit where we're taking care of people. They're nice. Maybe James. I work with him, and I sort of we talked it through together. If he wants to sell them later on, he can sell them. I just don't want to be in the business of selling things. I want to be in the business of making beautiful art for the city. Just I feel very fortunate to even have the chance to have the conversations I have. What an amazing. It's a lot of work, and I stress out all the time, and I carry the burden of it, and I've made the sacrifices. But all that said, what an amazing thing to be able to think about and give oneself to is these kind of expressions. It's an honor and a luxury. To be able to even do it, it's amazing.
For sure.
So thank you for sharing your time.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Very intimate. Love it. And
we got a few people watching on Facebook, so we have a few likes on Facebook. Yeah.
So I don't know if we can share a link that's to the crowdfunding campaign. That's what I should be doing, is finding that.
Actually, you can in the chat, because I don't know how to link to it. In the chat, you can just post it in there, and then when we add this to our Facebook and our YouTube, I'll put the link in there for people to donate also.
Great.
And I think we've also sent it out on a newsletter. I will double check. Otherwise, we'll be doing it next week.
Okay. Well, I'll find it. If you Google Illuminate the Pink Triangle and GoFundMe, it's on the chip.
I do have your link from some previous emails.
Okay, that's great. Guys, if you can, great. Share the word. Takes a village, takes a community. We're going to do it no matter what. And if we have to kill ourselves and mortgage our homes, we'll do it. But we're going to get this done. Because it has to exist. Look at it. It has to be there.
Yeah.
It must rise up and help lift our spirits and our consciousness. Like I say, light does 2 things really well. It attracts and it enlightens, and that's what the whole point is here. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you for your time. We'll be in touch.
Get back into Canopy, but you guys are pretty good where you are. All right. Thanks. Ciao.
All right. Bye.
Bye.